Hey, what's up guys? Today I'm doing a review on the TC32 MX series boxing gloves. So stay tuned. Hey guys, Carlo here. Today I'm doing a review on the TC32 MX series boxing gloves. I got mine in blue, 14 ounces. It is a lace-up only model. You can also get these in 16 ounces with 4 total colorways to choose from, including this blue. You can get this in red, black, or white. They're made of full genuine leather throughout the entire glove and uses a combination of latex and EVA foam padding, which is medium in density over the knuckles. And the gloves are handmade in Mexico. Now, from a design standpoint, when you're looking at this from a sizing profile, I'd say they're right in the middle. They're not an overly compact Mexican glove. They're not an overly large glove. You know, a large glove to me would be something from like Nicali or the original Casanova that has a larger, wider hand pocket and typically a longer cuff as well. I'd say that these are kind of right in the middle in terms of sizing. The leather on here definitely has a good shine to it. It's not satin. It doesn't have a matte finish. It does have a very nice shine to it, and I believe they put some type of water repellent type of spray on it that kind of gives it a strong chemical smell when you first get the gloves, and that smell is still there as well. There is what used to be the remnants of the TC32 logo, which has rubbed off. We'll discuss that here in a second in terms of the quality, but it was the oval TC32 logo, one day, one goal, made in Mexico. You do have the triple cuff wrist support on the back of your wrist with a cloth TC32 patch. One day, one goal, says professional boxing equipment, made in Mexico, MX series. If you can see it right there. Nothing crazy here, just a standard patch. The edges on it don't feel too sharp, but if you were to use these gloves for sparring, you probably want to tape over that. The back of the wrist support, you're looking at about an inch of medium to firm density foam padding on the back of that triple cuff. You also have the weight tag, 14 ounces. The inside liner is nice and smooth. It's a standard polyester satin liner on the inside. It does have TC32 logo on the tag on the inside that shows that it's made in Mexico, RFC, CAML, maybe that's like the serial number, made with cow leather. So you do have that. Coming to the palm side, laces are nice and long with plastic tips. I do feel the laces on here feel a bit cheap. These feel like the laces, like entry-level laces, if that makes sense. They don't feel like those ribbon laces that feel a little bit more durable. The other thing with these laces, they tend to get snagged on Velcro, so you do have to be careful. If these get snagged on Velcro, it'll fray the laces. So you do have those laces. Everything on here is blue piping, double stitching throughout. Coming up to the grip bar, I'd say the grip bar is about medium in size, but very, very dense. So it feels almost like a rubber tube that they put on the inside rather than a piece of foam or cloth. So you do have a rubber tube. The inside of the wrist support as well is about an inch to inch and a half. So they put a big emphasis on wrist support on both the back and on the inside of the hand. You can see it goes up to right about here where it tapers off with the stitching, as well as on this side. And there are no ventilated holes on the palm or on the inside of the thumb. And lastly, you do have an attached thumb as well. So overall, a pretty clean looking glove minus the logo starting to peel. Now when it comes to quality, obviously the logo is the first thing that stands out. The logo on this glove started peeling I think after my second session. So that's obviously a QC issue. When they did like a heat transfer or however they implemented this logo onto the glove, it did not stick. And hopefully they corrected that. Now the good thing is it didn't leave any marks on the leather or anything like that, but the logo is peeling off, and this is just going to come right off. The next time I use these gloves, that's just going to peel. So you can see it literally is just peeling right off the glove, which again, quality-wise, that definitely needs to be improved. But when the logo completely peels off, I think the gloves will still look really clean because you still at least have the patch logo down below. Now, the leather on here is actually really nice. It has a nice finish to it, has a smooth texture, and there are no really any kind of imperfections with the leather itself. The stitching on here is pretty good. There's areas where I feel it could have been done cleaner. Particularly, you can see like this stitch line pattern across. It's also kind of in a unique spot. You typically don't see the stitching come across the back portion of the hand compartment foam. You usually have the stitching right here at the hinge point, and down below in between the back of the wrist support cushion, but you typically don't have a stitching coming right across here. So I'm kind of curious on why they added that stitching line, but you can see it's a little bit on the crooked side. Back of the wrist support looks really good. You know, the outside edges on this, down below on the piping, all looks really clean. On this outside seam, inside liner is nice. There's no exposed foam, no areas where I feel like my finger is poking through on the inside liner. Obviously the laces can be improved in my opinion. They just feel kind of cheap and kind of chintzy in terms of laces. Stitching on the inside of the palm looks really clean. Around the thumb piping right here. Underneath on the palm side looks good as well. Stitching looks good there where the index finger meets the inside portion, looks clean. You also have stitching on the attached thumb where the thumb meets the index finger, looks pretty good. Another thing I'm not a big fan of is when you have a solid colored thumb and you still have stitching in between. Like, to me that's completely unnecessary. Why don't you just make that one full piece of leather rather than having another seam that something can start to unravel. And that tells me that the way that they're cutting this leather is they're not cutting full pieces for this size on the thumb. They're cutting little segments because they changed the colors up, which is fine if you have two contrasting colors. Like if this was white and this was blue, obviously you would have a seam between that. But the fact that this is one color, I'm not too sure why they would do that. The other thing is weight. These gloves are both overweight, but they're not on weight with each other, not on point with each other. So the right glove was, I think, at 14.8, and the left glove was at 15.8. So the left glove is almost 2 ounces over the 14-ounce advertised weight. So these are essentially a 16-ounce glove, and the right glove was about 1 ounce over. So again, I'm not really surprised just because I've ran into this so many times over the years with Mexican-made gloves being overweight. But again, just something that you guys should know if you guys are planning on ordering these gloves. But everything else with the glove, quality-wise, is pretty solid. Just a couple of issues that they have to correct. Obviously, the glaring one is going to be the label on the back right here, on the back of the glove, and hopefully they do a better job with that so it sticks and doesn't just peel right off after the second use. Comfort-wise, sliding your hand into the glove. It's probably one of my favorite things about the TC32 gloves. I did a review on a white pair a while back, and I love the fact that they have a very comfortable hand compartment overall. It's not super wide, like the pocket feels good on my hand. I have medium-sized hands. The thumb placement feels good as well. You have a good amount of padding on the back of your thumb. I'd say about an inch of padding. Positioning is good as well. It's nice and parallel. It doesn't feel too shallow or short, so I don't feel like the tip of my thumb jams. And the piping on here does a little bit takes a little bit of time to break in. It's not super tight, but it does feel a little bit snug, especially with hand wraps on. But the more I've used these gloves, they've really kind of loosened up. The glove is semi-broken in. It's not extremely soft, where you can open and close your hands right off the bat right away. So it's gonna take some time to really soften up the foam to give you that flexibility to open and close your hand. I'm getting pretty close to that right now, but you can see I can open and close my hand pretty good. But when you first get them, they are a little bit stiff and take a little bit of breaking in. Finger compartment is nice and deep, and the width is perfect. It's not too narrow where I feel like my fingers are kind of collapsing into each other. It's not too wide like the Nicali or Casanovas where you have this big void in this section of your hand. Even with hand wraps on, you feel like your hand kind of scoots around on the inside. So it feels really good. The liner feels very comfortable as well. It's not rough. It feels really comfortable. And there's a piece of leather on the inside of the thumb here that feels good as well. There is, I wouldn't necessarily say like a secondary grip bar, but almost like a little lip of cloth with a stitching. I wish they would have covered that with like a piece of felt or neoprene so you have something a little extra to grip onto. It's not a bad thing, but just a little extra detail that would be nice. Wrist support feels great on these gloves. Again, the emphasis with the padding on the inside of the wrist, on the back of the wrist as well. Once you have these laced, it feels like your hand and your wrist is locked in really nicely. So the wrist support definitely feels good. And you can see again, just from the sizing of the glove, for a 14-ounce glove, they're a really nice size. Cuff isn't too long, it doesn't extend too far down my forearm. And overall, feels really nice. Protection and performance-wise, these are, to me, a perfect training glove. So you could essentially use these for sparring, hitting the mitts, bag work, everything in the gym because of the density of the foam padding. The foam on here, I'd say is medium. It's not ultra stiff, but it's definitely not super soft and broken in. There's no horsehair in here. So you can see with me pushing down right here, you know, you could feel it, and it does have a good amount of protection and shock absorption. So you get a good amount of crack out of these, but if you're looking for something that gives you a ton of feedback, like a puncher's horsehair style glove, that probably wouldn't be a feature I would be looking for in this glove, but this is definitely more protective and shock absorbent for a Mexican style glove. And you do land on those two front knuckles. It feels like your hand is in a really good position to land properly when you land with your knuckles. So punch surface starts to kind of flatten out, and that's when you get the best feeling out of these gloves, is once they're broken in. So it'll take a couple sessions, but once you do break these in, they feel really good. But I'd say these are right in the middle in terms of that protection kind of performance gauge, if you want to call it. Cost-wise, once you convert it over from Mexican pesos, I believe that they're like 23 or 2,400 Mexican pesos. But once you convert it over, currently, it converts over to 140 US dollars. Now, that's not a bad price, all things considered. With inflation, a lot of gloves are now in that 200 and up range, especially Mexican-made gloves are around that, the high 100s, 200 and up range. So with the conversion at these coming in at 140, it's kind of crazy to think that, 10 years ago, that's how much Reyes were going for. We're about 140 bucks, and now fast forward 10 years with how everything else is going, the Reyes are like 230, 240 now. So considering that these are, more on the inexpensive side for a Mexican glove, I think they're solid. I really think they do a good job. I think they need to refine the glove a little bit, with the logo and the small quality issues. But if they can really iron those issues out, then at 140 bucks, definitely I would recommend this glove at that price point. So if you guys have any questions or comments, you guys know what to do. Put them down below. I'll put the link in the description box where you can get these TC32 MX series boxing gloves. I'll see you guys later. Peace.